what it was. Y'all know who it is. And y'all tuned in with Priceless Knowledge of Self. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight. And say, I got a quick question for y'all, man. How many of y'all dream of having a palatial estate in the country? I do, man. I'm talking about something highly expensive. Not expensive, expansive. But to have something expensive, it's usually expensive. So that's why I can't have it. Everybody ain't able. But these folks that we're going to talk about here today, they could have it all. Yeah, they could have it all. That's because this right here, it's a little something about those people that have Jupiter in the 4th house of their natal chart. Yeah. And see, before we even go there, if you don't know my style, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about Jupiter. I'm going to give y'all a little information on the energy that comes along with it and how it might affect you. Then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about what the 4th house of the astrological chart is all about. Then after that, we're going to bring it to a culmination, which fortunately for you, that's what I do best. So without wasting any more time, I'm finna go in. So Jupiter, this is known as the planet of luck by all. But for me, I also like to call it the thinking man's planet. And that's because it rules over higher learning and it really gives us the yin for exploring ideas both intellectually and spiritually. Jupiter rules over the sign of Sagittarius in the 9th house of the astrological chart. And if you ask any traditional astrologer, and myself included, to a lesser degree, it also rules the sign of Pisces in the 12th house of the astrological chart. And hey, man, intellectually speaking, Jupiter helps us in formulating our ideology. And in a more spiritual sense, Jupiter also rules over religion and philosophy and theology. And this planet concerns itself with long distance travel, ethical and moral values, our sense of optimism, luck and good fortune, man. They're going to come wherever Jupiter shows up in the chart and also wherever you can employ the characteristics of whatever sign your Jupiter's in. Okay. And it's the most kind and benevolent energy there is in the whole zodiac. And hey, the thing with that is there can't be too much of a good thing. Understand that. Jupiter doesn't know any limits. Saturn is about limitations. No, Jupiter, it knows no limits. It's going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. You know, that's just what it does, man. And sometimes it's too much because there can be complacency and there can be overdoing it or overindulgence, whichever one you want to call it, man. And, that can be dangerous. That can be dangerous. Just remember that, man. And Jupiter takes about 12 and a half years to go through the whole entire zodiac. So it spends about a year in each sign. Okay. So when we talk about the 4th house, the 4th house is ruled by the moon in the sign of Cancer, and it's considered the house of family and the house of home. And it's also known as the Nadid or the IC or the immune comoli or whatever it is. And, you know, it's here that we plant ourselves firmly and really lay down our roots into the earth, as it were. Okay. And so it's also here that things are brought full circle by also addressing our old age and endings and our final resting place too. And a lot of astrologers don't speak on that because most people try to attribute the 8th house to death. And you can see death in the 8th house. The 8th house is death, but the end of your life is seen in the 4th house. So that's something worth looking at right there, man. And it can also really have a real big say on what goes on with our mother or the relationship we have with our family. I would have to take that back because a lot of astrologers address it a different way because the 4th can represent the mother or the father. It's whichever parent is more nurturing or least dominant. In my case, it actually is my father. So I don't even know how I get that mixed up sometimes because the 10th represents my mother because my mother has a Leo moon. I have Mercury and Venus in Leo in the 10th house. And there's my mama. Now, my daddy, he has a Capricorn moon. And look, Capricorn rules my 4th house. Most definitely, man. I have Mars in Capricorn in the 4th house. So that just tells you a little bit about that right there, man. And either way it goes, man, the 4th can also represent our actual house or any real estate that we might own or end up acquiring. And there's a lot to consider. And more than anything else that I see, it's all about family and history and traditions. And, you know, those all contribute in the process of building a genuinely actualized and individualized self, which in itself is a sense of home in its highest form. Okay. Because, there's some signs that ain't going to be at the house, especially if you're talking like a Sagittarius. It doesn't matter what you're doing in the 4th house. The world is their home. You feel me? And so that's kind of how it goes with that. And any planets that are shown in the fourth house, they represent the energies that we have to work with in a domestic sense. They could show the relationship that we had with our parents growing up. It could show the energy that we had coming up in our home growing up. It could show the energy that we have in our home as grown folks. Okay. It could show our actual home. It could show how we feel emotionally deep down. This is a karmic house that also addresses our heritage. So this is how your peoples are. This is where you came from. Understand, this is the type of people that you come from when we talk about whatever sign is on the cusp of your fourth house or whatever planets you have placed here. And a lot of times people are trying to get away from that, but it is a part of you. It is who you are deep down somewhere inside. So it's worth addressing. Now, when we're taking Jupiter and we're putting Jupiter in the fourth house. So back in Texas where I'm from, we have a saying about certain individuals where we be like, so-and-so comes from good peoples. Or, if you come up and you don't know me and I speak to you and you're like, well, who your peoples is? And they'll start telling you who their family members are. And you're like, oh, you come from good people. What's up? That'll let you know that they all right because you know some of their people and the people that they come from are all right. Okay. They good peoples. And that's a beautiful thing to say about somebody in the South. You feel me? In the American South, because I know everybody that we're talking to isn't from the United States of America. And that's awesome. In the American South, this is terminology that we use, y'all. But that statement right here about so-and-so coming from good peoples, that certainly couldn't apply more to anybody else than these people with this placement right here. Because the fourth house represents our family. And when you're placing Jupiter here, it usually indicates that that's where we're going to see the most help and luck and good fortune at. And the closer it is to the IC or the nadir, the stronger it's going to manifest and the deeper those roots go, which in this case is actually a beautiful thing. Also understand that Jupiter is the planet of expansion in astrology. And so wherever he shows up, you can always expect to see abundance. And having a fourth house Jupiter, it could mean a lot of different shit then. I mean, a lot of different shit. For instance, it could point to the native coming from an exceptionally large family. Or it could mean that they come from really optimistic and spiritual people. Or, it might suggest that they had an awesome family life growing up where they was, there was plenty of love and emotional support going around in their household, which that's something beautiful from people that never had that, man. That's like a fairy tale. That's like a fairy tale. Hell, it might even be saying that they come from a really wealthy family. Or hell, it could mean all that shit. It could mean all that shit, man. These people right here could be that blessed for real. And don't forget that the fourth house speaks of our roots and our karmic heritage. So having Jupiter here could also be an indicator that these folks haven't inherited some kind of talented characteristic from their ancestors, which could pay off big time. So that's worth checking out too, man. I've also noticed that a lot of these people right here with this placement, they were very wise when they were little kids, which, that's quite intriguing to me. That's quite intriguing to me. And look, even if they didn't inherit any money or material wealth from their family, they still most definitely inherited that optimistic attitude and that trademark family wisdom from their family. And hey, not only that, most of them right here, they tend to follow their traditional family values to a fault, which only makes their peoples want to support them and bless them even more. And I'm telling you right now, this is something I wish I had. Also remember that the fourth and the 10th house are known as the parental axis in astrology, but the opinions are going to differ on which one represents which, like I was kind of just talking about a while ago. So what I do is check your personal chart and kind of see what the signs of your parents are and how they overlap with the fourth and the 10th house in your chart, and see what aspects would they have going on with their parents' dominant planets. And that'll let you know kind of which one is referring to which in these cases. And then, that doesn't even matter either way, because either way it goes with this, whichever one that is, or because it even be both of them with this one. This shows that these people right here had a really positive influence on your life, man. And they could also have some kind of prominent Sagittarius placements, whichever one we're speaking on, or Pisces placements too. That could be there too. Or maybe even both. But hell, man, they're blessed regardless with this placement. And let me also say that if the fifth house is somehow involved in any way with this one, most motherfuckers right here want a lot of kids with this placement. That's something they've always wanted. And boy, do they get it. boy, do they get it. Because Jupiter in the 4th house, it tends to end up with a really large family before it's all said and done. And hey, it might also be that some of their family, ends up coming from a different culture, or maybe they're in some way related to some kind of foreign country or something like that. Or they themselves could move to a foreign country with this one, man. There's a lot that goes on with this one. Their home could end up being in a foreign land with Jupiter right here. So that's something to assess and look at. And look, man, I'm telling you now, this is actually one of the most powerful Jupiter placements that there are, for the simple fact that Jupiter is in its accidental exaltation here, with the 4th house being ruled by Cancer and Jupiter being exalted in Cancer. And we can't forget that Cancer is also all about home. Okay. So I've also seen that a lot of people with this one end up living in a humongous home with plenty of room. And hey, it's beautiful too. And a 4th house Jupiter could also bless you if you decide to dabble in real estate, or, something like that, or fuck around and flip houses. That's something. I take a look at that. Okay. Especially if you can get, some kind of real estate in a foreign land or somewhere that's far away from wherever you're living at. And this right here could also speak of some luck coming from, close to home as well, too. Okay. But hey, just because you built like that, you don't have to build like that. Okay. It don't matter where Jupiter is. It don't matter where Mercury is, Mars, any of that shit. We all have all this energy available to us. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. And that's some priceless knowledge in itself. And there's been some priceless knowledge of self. Hey, if y'all fool with me on any level, please like, share, and subscribe. If you got this far, you should be hitting the like button. If you didn't hit the dislike button, you should be hitting the like button. There's no way you should hit the dislike button, because I know I went in. If you hit the dislike button, you're a hater, and it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Comment with me, interact with me. YouTube is about interaction. I need more interaction to get out on this algorithm so I can get suggested to new audiences, y'all. Help me out here. Help me help you. Hey, if you're interested in the astrological readings whatsoever, you can either hit me up in the comments below, or you can email me at mr.turner1300@gmail.com. Hey, I appreciate all the love and support, man. Y'all keep it trill till next time, because I promise you, that's all I know how to do, and that's all that's going to be done.